Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This time I am chatting to Mark Donovan, who played the hulking zombie in Shaun of the Dead. Really nice fella, very patient chap, and it was really nice to catch up with him and just say hi again and go through, the tribulations of having to wear rubber like that and be filming and all dressed in costume and getting records and stuff thrown at you. It's an interesting little chat, so hope you enjoy. I certainly enjoyed doing it, and here he is, Mr. Mark Donovan. Hello.
Hello.
Fantastic.
We got there in the end.
We did. There we go. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I don't say busy, but no. So,
Shaun of the Dead. So I just wanted to chat to you a little bit about your experience as the hulking man, as it says in the script. I actually was digging through some boxes because I was chatting to Stewie about it a while ago, and I had this thought to do a Shaun of the Dead episode of our podcast where we talked amongst ourselves about how the effects were done as best we could recall in the 17 years that have elapsed. And I was digging through some boxes and found my copy of the script and was looking through it and everything. And then I watched the movie and made notes of the different effects and spoke it through with them and everything. And obviously the big one was the first time we really see a zombie as such, although we see sort of a homeless guy chewing on a pigeon and all that kind of stuff. But we don't really see proper zombie until you arrive as the hulking man, as it says in the script.
the big reveal.
The big reveal. And that was a lovely makeup that you had to sport. But it was a hot...
Yes, it was played a blinder on that one. It was a fantastic piece of work.
It was cool. And it was a very hot time of year as well, as I recall, at that time.
Oh,
it was,
yes.
Not a good day to be dressed as you were, because you had to... The costume was pretty hefty, wasn't it? You had a coat on and jumper and covered in rubber as well and blood and...
the rubber wasn't so much to say the blood as time went on was the issue, because it was basically a sugar syrup base to it, so it dried very quickly, so it got very, very sticky and crusty and crunchy, and of course wasps. Oh my god. That was the major issue as the shoot went on, and of course because of all the blood spatter issues on the costume, they couldn't be washed in between days.
Yes.
And it went on for months, that shoot, in the end, because we kept getting rained off. So we'd get in, we'd be in the chair, we'd get to go through the makeup, we'd get to set and be waiting in the little Merry Traveller caravan just outside the location.
Yeah.
And then the rain would come in and go, we're not going to get to you till after lunch. And then after lunch, we actually, we're going to do it on alternate scenes. We're not going to use you today, but we can't stand you down just yet, just in case it clears.
Yeah.
So he's the whole day there, and then you'd remount it the next day. And then I think I was booked for, 4 days location, 3 days studio. I ended up doing about 5 weeks worth of days spread over the course of 3 months.
Oh my gosh! Every day in makeup, or did you have some days without it, where you were shot from behind?
No, every day in makeup, in full. And of course, so there were different pieces, because some of them, I don't know how much I want to talk about the makeup before I get into the details, but some of them had a slit to hold the record into the eye, so there was a socket. Yeah. So there were different ones for different days.
Of course, yeah. Stuart was saying there was the bit where you get hit with the shovel just before they sort of dispatch you all, and he said that you can actually see a little bit of the record fly off because it's quite a violent act. And I don't know if that's you hit with a rubber weapon or if it's a dummy hit with a real.
No, the bit where the actual shovel hits. Before I did this job, I'd never done any prosthetic work at all, and since then I've done quite a fair few heavy makeups on different adverts and film and TV. But this was my first venture into the world of prosthetics, and I was actually quite excited about having a head cast. And it wasn't until I got to Animated Extras who set it all up. I realised that the way they wanted to do the hitting with the shovel was they were going to do a full body cast and make the body as well as the head, and that would be on a bar, so there'd be no legs, just the torso and the head on a bar, and then when they hit with the shovel, they'd flip the bar backwards, and the Mary and I's bodies would fly backwards out of shot. So the actual being hit with the shovel wasn't me. It was it was all the record throwing that I was there for in shot. We actually we did a load of trust exercises as well. I remember in rehearsal because we did rehearse before we got to location down at Ealing. We had a couple of days, and we did trust exercises where we got to throw the rubber records that were going to be used in the scene. We got to throw them at Simon and Nick. Simon Begg and Nick Frost. So we vent our fury lobbing these records, which were, as I say, they looked like ordinary records, but they were about quarter to half an inch thick.
Right.
So they were quite sizable bits of rubber, so that they would keep their shape as they flew. Because if they were too thin, obviously they would just flop around everywhere. Yeah. So there was quite a bit of rubber in there, quite hefty. And I remember, we went through all these trust exercises, and we were all comfortable with it. And on the very first day, when we were throwing them, Nick Frost threw one at me, which hit me right in my eye that wasn't covered by the piece. Ow. But Nick was so terrified that he'd hurt me and was really apologetic. So the following day, I was trying to source a neck brace, see if I could just come
to wind him up.
Just to wind him up, but I didn't manage it.
Yeah, because it's quite a violent looking scene, and like you say, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't realise is that stuff does get rehearsed, and even though it may be very quick on screen, or very, very quick cuts, it's that's how it edited down, but it has to be rehearsed and practiced, and then contingencies, and they've got to figure out what the camera angles are going to be. And there's a lot of work that goes into very technical, dry stuff, isn't it, to have to break stuff down like that, because it's quite a frenetic scene, a lot of action very quickly, and that all needs to sort of time right. And like you say, things like that, with the best will in the world, there's always a little bit of risk in there. Even a rubber record thrown hard enough is going to sort you out.
And did.
Oh, I bet. And there was some shattering ones as well, because the ones that broke, I think they were wax for the shattering ones, and then
they just couldn't. That was another one. Sorry, there was another one that took ages to get right because we couldn't get them to shatter effectively. So they were throwing it, and it was just not breaking apart in a way that looked good on camera. So they tried putting a board underneath my shirt for them to be thrown at, so they would shatter, and that didn't work. They tried rigging up 2 wires through to the board in my shirt, and launching them along this wire so that it would hit at speed, just in the right place and at the right angle. But that didn't work. When they ended up putting them in a freezer to make them as brittle as they possibly could. So that's another one. You don't know that until you're there on the day.
Yeah.
So a shot that should take 20 minutes to do literally took a whole afternoon, if not a portion of the morning and afternoon, the majority of the day. Just that one. And it's when you see it on screen, it is literally probably about 12 frames. Yeah. Less than a second.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So it was the scene that wouldn't die.
Yeah.
Just kept going back to it. There's one more thing to do, one more thing. But it was quite an experience. I've got to say that having the live cast done for the very first time was absolutely one of my bucket list things.
Oh wow, that's
having all
cool.
the alginates poured over my head. And
because I was there for that. I worked with you on the live cast. I think you'd had a shave because you'd had a beard up until that point. You were saying that you'd shaved it off for the live cast, and I was like, oh my god, I felt really bad that you'd shaved this beard off.
And that's the memory cheating, because we actually did the shave in the room where we did the cast. I actually walked in with the beard, and Pauline was there with clippers and a razor, and I went into the little off room with a sink.
Right.
She shaved most of it, and I went inside and I shaved the rest of it there and then, just before we put the alginate on. So I remember it clearly. So we did the head first, and then took it off, which was fine. And then we did the body cast, which was like a plaster of Paris. Because I remember I think it was alginate first, and maybe then plaster afterwards.
Plaster bandage.
Because my body. My abiding memory of it is making little ridges of plaster bandage, so that you had things to grip on with. Take it off.
Little ribs.
And I was just standing there, and it must have taken probably about 45 minutes. And of course, the more you did, it was getting heavier and heavier
Yeah.
and heavier. I started to feel like an ice warrior from Doctor Who, just with the big armor on the outside. And it was just like, God, it's getting tiring. So yeah, it was quite a relief when we got to the end of that casting at the end.
Yeah.
And I remember they gave me a key to a dressing room afterwards to go and get showered off.
Yeah.
And it was in a different block, and I had to walk away across because it was at Shepperton.
Yeah. Across
to one of the other blocks, and I walked in and realised that it was a studio where they were filming X-Men.
Right.
And the dressing room key I had, I went up, I looked at it was number 7 or whatever, and I walked up, and on the door, Patrick Stewart. His name was on the door. So Xavier's room. So I don't know if they were just on an off day film or whether they just finished or whether they were. But yeah, basically I was in Patrick Stewart's room.
That's amazing.
Getting all the gunk off me. So yeah, that was a story to tell the missus when I got home.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, well, at least they gave you a shower room. That's good.
It was Shepperton.
Yes.
So even just walking in to go to animated extras. Walking past all these little shacks that had all the the properties and stores that sold lighting gel and everything's on site there. All these little individual businesses.
Yeah.
Walking past the big studios. I think it was there was some Egyptian thing going on. Maybe it was one of the Mummy films, but they had these huge columns. Yeah. You can see through the studio doors and everything. And I thought, this is all the stuff that was done here over the years. And I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and all the Peter Cushing movies were done at Shepperton.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was just, even just walking around and soaking in the atmosphere was great. And then, of course, I got to have my life cast done and just be part of the whole industry again. It was absolutely marvellous. Had a whale of a time. And Stuart's makeup, I'm seeing the design beforehand. I mean, it's the way people are. I don't understand how people just take a life cast and sculpt on top of it and make it so seamless as if it, just adding things to it, but not making it look like it's any bigger than it was beforehand.
Yeah.
Don't quite get the physics of it, but it's a brilliant piece. I mean, the way we had. The way the teeth were done, it was almost the Stuart photo was the Planet of the Apes style thing, where the set of teeth would actually sit on top of my lips,
yes,
on the outside, and then the piece would go over those, so that when I talked, the teeth moved in a very naturalistic way.
Yeah,
it's a very famous photo of me and Edgar, with him leaning on my shoulder and us both laughing, and I'm smiling.
And you can see the smile.
See the smile, even though those aren't my teeth. That's that's not my face.
No,
it's actually conveying emotion.
That's great.
So it's a wonderful piece.
And they were removable, so you could eat and do other things.
Yeah,
you could use your mouth in between takes, which is handy. So they're not sort of stuck in there permanently.
You say that. Unfortunately, when you get there, you get to lunch and realise that they've got rice for the day, and trying to eat rice through a piece.
No, it's not easy.
You've got all the danglers and everything, and it's just trying to get it so it doesn't hit. But I gave up in the end.
Yeah,
I'd eat breakfast in the morning and then I'd skip lunch.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no,
but yeah, the thought was there.
That is one of the little known things about makeup, is like things that go in and around the mouth. From a makeup point of view, you do sort of after lunch checks, and it's not uncommon to fish out a bit of stroganoff or whatever stuck in there, because if people are wearing a big extensive makeup, they can't help it. They've got to do it. And I've done things before where we've had creature suits in and they've got dentures in, for example, and they've got gloves on and they've got extensions and nails on their hands, so they can't use their hands, and so you pop your hands in there, and so being squeamish is not good if you want to work in this kind of stuff, because there's all sorts of horrible things that you might not think end up being your job, but are like cleaning out lunch from faces. But there you go.
I mean, bless her, Morag as well, who was the on-site medic, nurse. But yeah, I mean, the things Morag had to do. We're sitting in as I say, the little caravan which wasn't like a normal trailer. It really was like a caravan you would go to Anglesey for a family holiday.
Yeah.
Sitting in the road outside, and it was all full of costumes. And of course, as I say, for quite a few days we got rained off, so it smelled like wet dog because of all the fur on the costumes and stuff that were, so anything had a fur collar that got wet just stank the place out. And we'd be stuck in this thing. I remember at one point Nick had done his shoulder in. I think this is actually on the DVD where Morag had to give him a cortisone injection.
Yes,
in his
that's right.
backside,
yeah,
which we did in that little caravan. So that thing you see on the DVD, we're actually sat in a semicircle around. It wasn't just him and Morag. We were all sitting around, sheltering from the rain,
we're all
watching
friends
him.
here.
Poked in the backside with a needle.
Oh my gosh.
So she starts playing up to the camera at one point. He's like, no, "Stop messing around. Just do it."
I was just going to say briefly about like what you say about like, getting made up and not getting used. That's something that can happen a fair bit, especially like on principles that, that when they're going to shoot something, they may think about what they're going to film or the location. They've only got for a certain amount of time, and those sorts of things take precedent. And then it's happened to me a lot where I'll, make somebody up, and then the poor person sat there in makeup all day waiting to get used, and then they just don't. And it's amazing. People go, "Oh my God, you had to," you think you see a scene and you can tell from that, maybe they did the makeup 2 or 3 times, but often you have to prepare to make lots and lots of pieces and prepare for lots of applications because you don't know how many times you're going to be needed.
Stuart has, multiple versions of my head lying there with the blank pieces, pinned on, ready to be, called in if they were needed. Yeah, I mean, we got the makeup down. Originally, it was about an hour and a half, I think, to put on, and we got it down to about 45 minutes in the end. But the D-rig, the D-rig just took so much. You think, I've only got to be, the long part, but just because it was stuck on so, so well, you couldn't just rip it off. You have to literally, as go around with the cotton bud, with the isopropyl, just taking it off bit by bit by bit by bit, and then try and get it so that it was such a large piece. I mean, it covers the whole of one side of my face and half of the other side of my face.
Yeah.
And so doing the edges, was putting it on was bad enough, but trying to take them off without. Because I say we were doing it so often, you had to think about my skin as well. With
yes.
the damage you'd be doing to it. So, Stuart, bless him, he was, very patient. The temptation must have been to just pull it off.
Stuart Conran is a pro. He's been doing it a long time, and you're in very safe hands with that. But he would take his time with it and be careful. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it does mean, of course, that you're the last one out, because if you've been wrapped at the same time as everybody else, everybody else has got. I remember on my last day, we had, sort of my, golden wrap, and went, everybody said, just go and get de-rigged and come back down and we'll do a little sort of presentation thing. Oh, that was nice. So I went and got de-rigged, went down, everybody else had gone home.
Yes, no, that's often the case. That's yeah, apart from like location people, it's like first in, last out. Usually makeup, it can be a thankless task. Well, obviously if the makeup people are there, then your poor actors there as well. So yes, it can be a long day. One thing I was going to mention is that Stewie Connor mentioned that he had a 2000 AD comic. I don't know if you were aware of this, of the sort of the story that led up to the hulking man and how he got his face ripped off. Did you ever see that?
Actually, not only did I see it, I got married in 2005, and my best man actually gave me the original artwork for the strip.
No way!
I've actually got it on my wall. I'm looking at right now.
My gosh, that's amazing! How cool!
So, that's a fantastic wedding present. But it was wonderful to see it. I bought issue 1 of 2000 AD. I was a 2000 AD kid back in the day.
Yeah.
With Strong and Rojaws and Hammerstein and all. I love 2000 AD, so to actually get myself in its pages.
Wow.
And the Shaun of the Dead cover as well. It was just unbelievable. But again,
oh my gosh, you must be so mad, because you were also on the front cover of Fangoria magazine. So That's
That was
pretty
the
cool.
one I was going to say. I was also a Fango kid.
Oh my gosh.
And when they had the proof of the cover, Edgar emailed it to me with the subject line "Brace yourself." And just the day when I was a Fango cover girl.
That is amazing. Fangoria and 2000 AD. That's pretty epic, man. And you got the original art. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I could die a happy man after that.
Oh, bet. Oh, man. Borak Thung. No one. Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I read some of the 2000 AD. I mean, this is not relevant particularly to Shaun of the Dead, but I used to read some of the 2000 AD because what happened, I used to read Eagle. And Eagle comic was, it kind of felt that whole Fleetway thing. There was like in the mid-80s, there was that whole kind of printer strikes and all sorts of weirdness. And a lot of comics kind of merged and sort of fell apart. There was one comic I read called Scream, which was a horror comic. I don't know if you've seen it. I'll have to send you a link. I've got them all. I've got them all. I found them on eBay.
Yeah, I've got some scans of them on my hard drive.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, I've got a few of those as well.
Because I want to sculpt
was that
things
the
from it.
80s reboot of Eagle, or the original ones,
yes,
and there's the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, it was the 80s reboot. That's when I sort of came online to understand these things. So I read the Eagle, and then there was another kids comic called Spike, which I still got the first edition of. And then a lot of the comics sort of merged in the mid 80s, or just sort of floundered, and they merged. I remember, I think it was Victor and Eagle merged together a bit, and there was some crossover stories where I remember Doomlord was in something that was with in a Victor strip, and it was like, what? It was just this, like trying to mix it up by crossing the worlds, which I wasn't ready for.
But not Joe Soap.
No, not Joe Soap. No. Oh my gosh!
I always thought that was a very strange fit for Eagle.
It was. And do you remember Otto Sump had the campaign for Ugly, and he was selling things to make people ugly?
Yeah.
That was amazing. That would make an excellent. They should turn these into like TV series. I think that'd be amazing. Those 2000 strips were way ahead of their time.
Sometimes with that 13th floor as well, I used to love.
Yes, I've got because they carried on the story with some of the summer specials. They reprinted them. I don't know if you've seen. Well, I've got it here. There's a comic company. I think they're called. Hang on. And the Dracula File as well. It is Rebellion Comics, and they've reprinted 2008. They've reprinted the Dracula File. They've reprinted Monster, which some of it was written by Alan Moore, and they've reprinted the 13th Floor, and they're exquisite. They're absolutely exquisite. And oh god,
I always loved horror comics. I go back to the 70s. I used to get Dracula Lives and Planet of the Apes, the old American imports.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought I dropped the line for a second.
No.
I was always a big comic fan. So when you started getting the likes of Eagle and 2000 AD coming out, and of course I said Doctor Who earlier. I used to get Doctor Who weekly when it first came out, which then became Doctor Who monthly, which is still going today. I'm glad it still has a comic strip in it. Despite being mostly for the adult market now, they still keep that little throwback, which is nice.
Oh wow!
I used to love my comics back.
Fantastic. Well, that was a turn I wasn't expecting. That's lovely.
Yeah, not much to do with bits of rubber, but there you go.
Oh, lovely.
Not quite sure that'll fit in the podcast. But
maybe not, but it's just lovely to chat about. That's awesome. Oh my god. Well, I think that's all I want to bug you with. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Not a problem. Nice to talk to you. And when you were saying about not having met on him, Bryce, I thought you were at the live cast.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was at the live cast. I wasn't on most of the shoot. Well, not the North London shoot. There was a chunk of time where I was away, and I came back to the Ealing stuff. But I was on the build. But yes, because I remember we live cast Mary. We live cast Bill Nye, and I didn't live cast Nick, but I know that Stewie and Dan did. And also I live cast Dylan Moran, and I think maybe that was it. I don't know, but yeah, that room will be live cast. That was the live cast room. So I remember live casting. It was the only time I've ever been flustered by an actor, and I was live casting. Oh shit, Frank Finlay. I had to live cast Frank Finlay for some movie, and I was so starstruck because I was a huge, and still am a huge, Three Musketeers fan. I mean, I know he's done a lot, but he was in Three Musketeers, obviously in the Richard Lester one, and I was like, oh my god! And I was trying to get his paper suit on, and I was trying to put his foot through the armhole because I wasn't paying attention. Because I was like, oh.
I love Frank Finlay.
Yeah.
I love the witch smell of the Sweden.
Oh my god, the first Blackadder, yes. Yeah, the first season. Yeah, he was amazing in it, and Peter Cook was in that as well, I think. Oh no, he wasn't the first episode, but the Mitchell of Sweden.
Yeah, it was King Richard, wasn't it? Richard III. Mm-hmm.
And I remember, not that we met in Bruges, but you were in Bruges as well, and I did some stuff there. Well, I did some stuff in the studio again at Shepperton. I did live casting and sculpted some pieces, and then filmed a few days in Bruges. Well, when Brendan Gleeson bursts when he hits the ground and all that kind of stuff, and the neck shot as well. He gets shot in the neck. I think Ray Fiennes shoots him in the neck. But that would have been a different day. But I remember seeing it because I hadn't realised you were in it, and then I saw it at the cinema. I was like, oh my god, there's Mark again.
Well, it was great because I don't know if you remember, but the production base was in Bruges.
Yes.
So rather than skip me back and forth for fittings all the time or have fittings done over here, they literally just shipped us over and put us up in the hotel in Bruges for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I called every couple of days. Oh, can you come in this afternoon for fitting? We'll send a car. Yep, fine. And of course, it was Barry, the transport captain from Shaun of the Dead, who was doing the so there was that kind of Shaun of the Dead feel on it anyway because I've seen Barry. And I remember afterwards, out of those 3 weeks, we only ever filmed on 2 afternoons.
Wow. Not
even 2 full days, 2 afternoons. And for the first one, I got there, so we're overrunning a bit from the morning. So just stay in the trailer and we'll come and grab you in about an hour. And they never got to us. So of those 2 afternoons, I only actually filmed on it for possibly about 4 hours, but I had 3 weeks in Bruges as a result, being a tourist most of the time. Going canals and going on little horse rides in the carriage around the city. And,
oh wow!
And buying Belgian beer and chocolates and so dream job, really.
It was because in the movie, he's always banging on about how shit Bruges is, and I'm like, it's lovely. It's really nice. Gorgeous. Chocolate and the best beer ever. There's no problems at all.
I keep meaning to get back one day, but I haven't got around to it yet. But one day. One day. Anyway, it's lovely to talk to you.
And you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Not a problem. And just hope things get back on track soon and back in the swing of things.
I hope so too. I'm surrounded by my workshop ready to go, but at the moment I just sort of throw myself fully into my podcast at the moment because I've neglected it for 6 months because it's been just crazy with the filming and stuff. So, but I love doing this. I love talking about the stuff and examining things in detail because I teach a fair bit as well. This kind of stuff, and so questions come up, and I just like to do a little deep dive. So it's lovely to talk to people who are interested in stuff like the comics. And when you suddenly meet somebody, you go, oh my god, you read the same things I did. You know what I mean? It's like that's lovely. Oh, it's very cool. Amazing.
I've got a YouTube channel as well, by the way, called Zombie Adventures. It's just me going on adventures.
Oh wow.
It's stuff like I did one on my last day at Les Mis, and then when I went to Iowa, I did a sort of 4-part thing of I went to the Field of Dreams, the movie Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
was filmed. The baseball diamond and the house is still there.
Oh.
And they actually, because it was the 35th anniversary, doing a special event where they had ghost players coming out of the corn and doing a show on the baseball diamond. So I've got a vlog of that day and one at a theme park, and went to Iowa State Fair and did a day there.
Oh, wow.
So there's one of me carving a pumpkin last Halloween with the hulking zombie's face on it. So if you get a chance, check it out. I'll send you a link in the actually it's zombieadventures.co.uk will take you straight to the YouTube page.
.co.uk. Oh right. Thanks very much. I'll put that on there.
Anyway, all the best.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you on Facebook. It's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Oh, thanks, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
You can get in touch through our Facebook page or email us at stuartandtodd@gmail.com. Check the show notes for more information. If you enjoyed this episode, tell someone else and help us grow by sharing it on social media. Thanks for listening.